Hello, and welcome to an adventure like no other. Far more than what you have known, there is something far more to be known than you can ever know. And it is all about you, the real you, your real awareness with your intuitive senses. You were never taught that the real you, your real awareness, is operating 5 bodies in cause and effect, restricting creation. You have been taught to think that you are only a one-dimensional human person, with a mind and emotions, and with a very short lifespan on this planet Earth. More than what your mind can grasp is your intuitive senses that can be opened to see beyond all your restrictions. You have always had an opening to see beyond what you have known, and this has been purposely kept from you, and this is where you have heard rumors and stories about your nightly dreams. Your so-called dreams is your opening to your intuitive senses that will allow you, the personal you, to excel beyond what you have previously known. Everyone has intuitive senses, and very few people take advantage of what is possible by recognizing something more than their mind can understand. Creation has its place for all of us, and then there is all life, which is far more than anything than what can become with creation. Everything we experience is necessary for us to survive with whatever we choose and decide our life to be. New Kevin Smith is the great witness to something more than what can be taught and learned in any school. It can be so that when anyone first listens to Kevin's intuitive side experiences, also known as real side experiences, from what their personal mind has known, Kevin's manner of expression will at first be rather different to comprehend. This is where this introduction and reading the new books and Facebook groups will help. Have fun deciding. DUANE the Great Writer and Seer.
This real side experience would begin in my physical level house recreated. Everything experienced in creation, physical level and real side, will be an affected idea. Not everything simulated, however, can reveal in and of itself the entirety of the idea that affects it. Oftentimes, the idea that is a surface simulated on the literal front will have many other ideas in association with it, unseen idea attachments that cannot be determined based on what we are visually presented with. A church, as an example, may on the surface represent a certain marketed idea, but in association with the seeming innocent and beneficial front will be other ideas in affiliation. As religions are based on sacrifice and death, these ideas also will be applied, and as we agree then with the surface idea, that which the buildings represent, the religions, so we are taking on this additionally and unseen idea baggage. The entirety of the ideas will be then consciousness installed, and affected will be our experiences accordingly, that of the embracing of the restricting ideas of death and sacrifice. Additionally, as all surface simulation is created, that which created it, the consciousness, is in affiliation also. As we agree with the surface ideas, we agree with the consciousness that manifested them, and a consciousness that will comprise of the ideas that it will, including intent, which we also then will install into our consciousnesses, as we agree with the surface ideas. And as all religions are reptilian creations, we not only are taking on the unseen affiliated ideas, but the reptilian consciousness intentionality of control and subjugation also, and affected then will be our experience in relation to the reptilians that reflects this idea agreed with, that of being controlled, repressed, and dominated. The real side is no different. That which is presented on the surface will not be in isolation, idea-wise, and many times where the guides present our experiences, that which we require for our awareness processes, what they reveal isn't always literally as it appears to be, and we must rather recognize what is being represented or symbolized, made possible through the real awareness. That as we lean to the nowness of its everything isness reality, as every idea as effected from all consciousness is available to the real awareness, so the symbology, the ideas underlying that which we are being shown, can be more readily determined. Our recreated houses generally represent the consciousness, and therefore what is taking place within them, situations and the presence of other body forms, will reveal our idea agreements and attachments, those which we are conscious and unconscious of, the larger volume of subconscious agreements we have collated throughout our stay in the simulator. And whereabouts in the houses the ideas feature will give indication as to if we are indeed conscious or unconscious of them. Every being and body type we ever have encountered in the simulator can only have been so with agreement to the idea that they are, for absent of the idea as a present in consciousness, and it cannot be effected into our experiential midst. And the consciousness then is the storehouse of all ideas that have effected every lifetime situation, and the presence of all those participating within them. And until the process of awareness, that of facing and releasing the ideas of consciousness, is taken on, we are in agreement with the entirety of the consciousness construct, including all ideas that are every body form we ever have encountered. As such, all these beings can feature in our experience potentially at any moment, physical level and real side, as we hold to the idea of them and maintain a constant open door that allows them access, and symbolically then they can feature in our recreated physical level houses. In this case it appeared, in whichever lifetime this may have been, I had association with a selection of aquatic octopus-like body forms. That impressions revealed were body types where the secondary personal self had been established, as opposed to just being animated directly by real awareness prior to the formulation of the free will wielding personal self-creation. These octopus beings were not malevolent or in any way dark force affiliated, but they neither were those in any way ready to embark on the real purpose and journey, that of is recognition, but perhaps they were curious as to the references or ideas pertaining to the true reality. For within my recreated house, it was as though the large tanks that had been containing the octopus creatures had been damaged in some way, the water flowing through the house like a river, with the octopuses also now at liberty to explore the interior of my house. 4 bodies of water can represent life. The bodies of water we are shown to be operating within on the real side represent the extent of life, the isness we are exposing or opening ourselves up to. And yes, these octopus creatures would be aquatic based, but the representation, that of they being contained in comparatively small water tanks within my house, were that of the relatively small in comparison to the isness position they had in association with life. and that these life positioning representing tanks were within my house, simply indicative of the ideas of these body types being installed in my consciousness. That they had broken loose of what was then their self-limited position in relation to life, their rather restricting water tanks, revealed that indeed they were curious to explore beyond that which they had resigned themselves to for the longest time. Whatever ideas of consciousness they had encapsulated themselves within. As I said, a curiosity as to the ideas of the true reality, the real references, ideas that would be present in my consciousness, hence they exploring the interior of my house, via the watery medium made available as they had broken loose of their tanks, the water of life now free-flowing rather than contained. As I also mentioned, this was but a curiosity on their parts at this moment. The guides tend to only approach individuals or deploy other new friends and aware beings to do so when the individual is ready. And quite clearly, these octopus beings, though curious, were not at that stage of readiness where the guides deemed it prudent to introduce them to the opportunity of the all-ears. For indeed would my brother be present, though this would be a form adopted by what impressions revealed was a real guide, as they have a tendency to take on the outer external forms of our older siblings and parental figures, and he would be acquiring my assistance in securing the octopus beings and returning them to their tanks. As though curious they may be, but as DUANE always says, it's a step at a time, and there is an old Chinese saying, one who walks too swiftly may step into a bear trap. That these octopus beings would have their opportunity, but when the guides determined was the best moment for it, as the references of the ears can be rather overwhelming without perhaps adequate preparation and requisite experience. The octopuses then symbolically would remain in tanks inside my house, but suggesting then the moment would come where I would be engaging with them, as our past lifetime affiliations present as opportunities, through the connections we have, the ideas of the body types and species of others present in our consciousnesses. The scene would switch, and still with the same guide, though in my father's form now instead, we were walking the streets of the earth, and seemingly applying what appeared to be badges to the doors of certain houses, as though marking what were then the consciousnesses of certain humans. Impressions suggested these were humans that were ready to receive the opportunity of the all-ears. And gratifying was it then that so many houses, so many human consciousnesses would be thus identified and marked as those humans to be approached real side and physical level. The scene switching again, and would be rather reminiscent of a real side experience I shared a year or so ago, where in that experience, positioned in a library, would a very aware female be addressing all those gathered, those that, including myself, were on their respective processes of awareness. She would reveal that as we continue to release the restrictions that are the ideas of the consciousness, so we can expect to become more limitless, not only on the real side, but the physical also. For the less ideas we hold to, the less we are the effects, and so it follows that to complete the facing and releasing of ideas process, So we then move into positions where we are bound to no limiting effect unless we consciously choose to be. We become as unboundless and limitless on the real side as everything is immediately its effects in real side isness actuality terms, and although the effects, the agreements, or indeed the releasing of ideas takes the moments it will to manifest effect on the physical, as there is a delay between cause and effect due to the presence of time and space factor ideas in consciousness, these effects will show up eventually, and the progressively limitlessness we experience on the real side, as we proceed with our awareness process, the facing and releasing of the restricting ideas of consciousness, will become so at some stage on the physical, and where afforded, will be greater survival capability. And from that real side experience, where the woman would reveal this potentiality to all those in attendance, so would I have a series of subsequent real side experiences that I have shared, which would enforce and verify her contentions, where I would be shown my ability to as though mould and reform my simulated situations, and indeed my body form as I saw fit on the physical level, as though at any moment able to restructure the very ideas that are my simulated experience effected, and so altered are my situations and circumstances accordingly. And now, in this scene and current real side experience, there would be another individual that impressions revealed was a real guide, though in the form of the actor Cillian Murphy, and just like the woman from the library a year or so ago, he would be addressing myself and a group of awareness becoming individuals, and revealing the nature of our respective abilities that potentially may unlock on the physical level. He would reveal to me that I indeed would be able to shape and mould my body form as I so decided, that according to the environment I was in, that which was occurring within it, so I would be able to adapt, to compensate for any eventuality, including any abrasive and adversely impacting variables or factors. As though to emphasize this, one of the group seemed to harbour jealousy and resentment in regards to myself, a middle-aged human woman, and would attempt to attack me with what appeared to be a black magical capability. My body form would transform instantly into that which was required to repel her particular brand of attack. Seemingly to become a body form of stone was necessary, and as she tried to lay her hands on me, as a physical contact seemed required that she could administer her black magic powers upon me, my stone form would exude an energy that was as though comprising of ice, and she would be unable to execute her malicious black magic intentions, unable to retain her hands upon my freezing to the touch stone form. She would relent and as though mumble her apologies, scuttling away from where I stood, and in the distance would Cillian Murphy, the guide that was occupying this form, had been watching the entire scene as it had unfolded. The scene would switch. I now was in a swampy environment, and present also would be a large selection of crocodiles. Oftentimes the ill-intended reptilians will present in more animal forms, generally snakes or crocodiles and alligators, representing that as we continue to limit and restrict ourselves through the abrasive and awareness-suppressing choices and actions we decide, that our forms always reflect our consciousness, so such life choices are expressed as body types, progressively regressive in a design, in that we can present in more animal forms. These forms may not be what we actually are operating through and as on the physical at this moment, as there is a delay factor from cause to effect as I mentioned, but eventually we may find ourselves projected into such forms should we persist with our abrasiveness, regressing in a sense, in reflection of our consciousness becoming more distorted. These crocodiles, then, would be a selection of reptilians, who were at the moment of my entering their swamp lands, continuing to be abrasively inclined, hence their animal forms, and their immediate reaction would be to attack me. But as I said, our limitlessness that becomes so on the real side, that will eventually manifest physical level wise, would be revealed here again. My form would adapt to the environment and situations therein. My body type became impossible to bite, as though reforming, that its design were resilient as rock, and beyond the ability of these reptilians, the crocodiles, to damage with their teeth. After a while of this, it seemed, by virtue of my presence, would the crocodiles relent, and as though be curious as to the robustness of my body type. They wanted to know more in regards to my resiliency. This tends to happen on the real side, that as we present in the limitless ways that we do, by virtue of the awareness process of idea releasing, our capabilities draw the curiosity of others that feature in our experiences. This then is opportunity to reveal the source of our invincibility, the real awareness, and the releasing of all that which limits us in creation, the ideas of the consciousness. And very often other body types may desire to try the new you for themselves, many times for personal gain, but there will be those who recognize the merits of becoming indifferent and detached from all consciousness ideas, and to embrace a process and set intent where they can become as the real awareness beings of light they actually are, and positioned in the isness that all real awareness is a part of, as is the purpose that the simulators actually serve. These crocodiles, these reptilians, were fascinated by my ability to withstand their assault. Additionally, their motives, at least at that moment, were sincere with the years, and they would accompany me as I led them from the swamp, as though I had taken a selection of reptilians under my wing, so to speak, and to assist them with their awareness processes. A brief scene followed, where I would be at a table with others, another table placed nearby, a banquet of food laid out upon each, and where my table comprised of more humanoid body types, the other were more animal forms, though animal forms where the secondary personal self hadn't been established. Sat at my table would be another guide, as impressions revealed, though in the form of a former school colleague called Keith, that as I have shared before, this particular form is rather a constant that the guides have a tendency to assume. The various animals would be periodically vacating their table, approach ours, and be conveying to me certain ideas, though telepathically. I would then relay these to the guide, and the others seated at our table. I fail to recall exactly what was being delivered idea-wise, but the overall sense and impression was in regards to life and its benefit that these animals, directly animated by life and real awareness, were thus representing. In a scene that followed, I would have revealed to me that in a previous lifetime I, in actuality, would be harnessing the kind of ability in regards to being able to mould my body form in relation to my environment. For I have revealed on prior real side experiences that in previous lifetimes and moments I had taken on the process of awareness and recognition, but had, for whatever reason, forfeited my opportunity. The past lifetime revealed here would be one where this had been so. I had progressed to an extent. I had released a certain proportion of idea agreements of consciousness, and consequently I had become more unlimited, not only on the real side, but on the physical also, in regards to this ability to alter my body form into any design I saw fit, as a compensatory measure to whatever environment stresses and individuals that were impacting my experience adversely. At a certain moment, I had stepped back from my awareness process. In that previous lifetime, the reason would not be revealed. However, the dark forces operating at that time would deem it prudent to step in and ensure the abilities I had cultivated, my body-altering skills, were suppressed. For despite my stepping back, my general inclinations were not ill-intended, at least in that lifetime. The dark forces then harboured concerns as to how I might utilise my body form changing skills, if I would say be opposing them and their control systems in any way, as after all this was an ability made available physical level wise also. The dark forces then would construct an elaborate simulation that would contain me on the physical level, though in such a way that I wouldn't realise this was so, as though a simulated trap within the simulation that was the physical level I was operating in. And the individuals, usually as part of my physical level experience, the various participants that were of my species at the time, no longer were present, but replaced by shape-shifting reptilians who assumed their forms within the simulation overlap I was contained within. As everything we experience is based on what we decide, if other beings want that we affect experience according to what they desire, they have to manipulate us that we agree to that, the ideas, which they wish our experience to be. And this contained physical level simulated trap, with the mimicked physical level participants, was for the purposes overall of having my agree to take on certain ideas that would limit myself in such a way that the abilities I had developed, that of changing my form as I saw fit, that rendered me somewhat untouchable, were suppressed. A process that took the time that it did, a method employed that required this simulated containment and faked species participants in a way that I can't describe, but would have the desired effect. I would take on the idea agreements that had this ability removed, or more so made inaccessible, as though locked away in my subconscious, beyond a conscious reach. At a certain stage, I would be released from the simulated containment that was a replica of the actual physical level position and species that was this previous lifetime, although I was oblivious of this entire process, as the dark forces had successfully, had me suppress my very advanced shape-altering ability, and now I was considered safe to be released and unlikely to be of concern to the darker forces. And from there I would have proceeded to have whatever lifetimes I did, just another unconscious personal self-immersed individual, until my current lifetime, where I would take up the process of awareness again, and where, just as it was in the previous lifetime, the releasing of the ideas of restriction rather are manifesting as this limitlessness in regards to my body forms on the real side, and very possibly physical level manifested also at some stage. For indeed, in a final scene, I would be protecting a group of individuals, those on their respective awareness processes, from the ill-intended attentions of what appeared to be a large scorpion-like creature, a form that comprised of the body of a scorpion, but the upper torso and head of a humanoid female. And again was my body form indestructible by virtue of my adaptability skills, that despite the scorpion woman's best efforts, and she had a very formidable and dangerous body type, she was unable to bestow harm upon me, as my body always would compensate and alter in mitigation for whatever form her attack would take. This scene was occurring in a dense jungle, but the group I was protecting lacked the body-altering and advanced survival skill I possessed. They were being hunted by the scorpion creature that could very readily eliminate them. But I would gather the group to myself and be able to as though bestow my ability upon them, to take them swiftly through a process where removed were whatever idea restrictions that limited their ability to harness the body-altering skill I possessed. And now they were just as formidable, as redoubtable as I was, in regards to their body forms, in relation to whatever environmental factors, stressors, and adverse impact of others that featured in their experiences. They were rendered safe from the scorpion woman who was hunting them for whatever reason this may have been, and additionally they would be less susceptible to attacks by any other body forms multi-dimensionally.